the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears, where the end of the game, or the final score of the game, was 27-24. Going into the last quarter, obviously the Bears were up. It felt like the game was completely dead. JJ McCarthy was pissing down his leg, and they go and they score 21 points in the fourth quarter, and they go and edge the Bears out and win this football game. The reason I want to start with this is because, one, it's the freshest game in our minds right now, but I feel like the other side of it this week, Tyler Dunne from Go Long dropped a 3-part series called The House of Dysfunction. It's the Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears story, where he interviewed a multitude of ex-head coaches and front office members. I believe it was around 32. And there were some interesting takeaways from that article that I read. I don't know if you took the time to read it or not. I sent it the other day. And it caught a few things I want to go over, because one, I want to pat ourselves on the back a little bit. I felt like, I know it's week 1. I know there's a lot of football left to be played. I know there's a very long season ahead of us, but based on our preview of all the teams across the NFL and our predictions going into the season, I feel really great about how we took in the offseason this year and how the week 1 played out. I personally do. I don't know how you feel. You try to play like sly and cool, like, oh, I don't overreact to week 1. It's like, well, they play games, like.
What I'll say is, yes, you're correct. I will not overreact to week 1. It is a long season. I remember there was points in the season last year where we were like, oh, this team is dead, and they rose from the grave, and they ended up being a playoff team, the Rams specifically. And then there was a point where the Packers weren't looking great, and then they rattled off a bunch of wins too. So, like, it is week 1. I can overreact right now and say that I also feel like we did a pretty solid job of our evaluation of some of these teams. I know there was a team that, in particular, that you mentioned texting that you were like, I wish I could change my opinion on them to start the season.
We'll get to that for sure.
But if you only have like a few teams that you're like kind of on that you're skeptical about, I would say that that's a pretty solid start to the season then.
It is. Sorry, we had to pat ourselves in the back there. Every once in a while, it doesn't hurt. We have a lot of haters. But to get back into this House of Dysfunction situation, there's a few takeaways that I have, and I echoed it in our pre-season preview of the Chicago Bears. What I took away from it is Ryan Poles was in way over his head, and he had some infatuation with the fact that Caleb Williams could potentially be the Chicago Bears quarterback even before he was draft eligible. Like, he wouldn't take like a CJ Stroud, for example, because he said, I'm not going to take another Ohio State quarterback. The media will crush me for that. And then during the pre-draft process of Caleb Williams, it was no one else. The way that the narrative was shaped is that nobody else was given a fair shake at the pre-draft process for the Chicago Bears. The pick for them, before even looking or evaluating tape or anything like that, it was led to believe that the pick was Caleb Williams no matter what. And he also said a similar statement during that process. The media will kill me if I don't take Caleb Williams with the first overall pick. One, that's ridiculous. I said that going back into our preview that I hate Ryan Poles. I think he's in way over his head. And to hear how chronically online he is, and to worry about who he's going to be taking, who the media is worried about him taking the first overall pick. I think that that's complete bullshit. Now, on the other side of things, the Caleb Williams situation right now, and I'm going to loop this all into week 1, Caleb Williams is a bad pro. He's being a bad pro football player. He's not willing to be coached. During the season last year, the players were internally calling for his benching as well as other coaches. They had to dumb down the process because that's what Caleb Williams wanted, which also led to a lot of pre-snap issues and penalties stemmed from Caleb Williams' inability to call a play and properly and have like a proper cadence for when they got out onto the football field. Screaming at coaches, the Thomas Brown situation was actually pretty crazy, to have somebody who's an interim head coach and to just blow them off, and him having to scream at him to come back and take direction of him. I think that's ridiculous. Like, you have to be coachable. And the last thing, the film comment that was made over the summer, he got Jamarcus Russelled. He got Jamarcus Russelled, and they were saying, he said that they never taught me how to watch film. He wasn't watching film. So I said this as well in the preview. There are no good vibes around Caleb Williams in any way, shape, or form. And now to lead it into this Monday night game, and then I'll let you talk. Sorry. We go into Monday night game. The first drive of the game, everybody really gassed him up. A lot of checkdowns to the running backs. I pointed that out right away. He made one great play where he scrambled out on the right and hit a dot for Rome Odunze. The rest was a lot of missed sacks, and he took advantage of that and used his legs, which I thought was impressive. I thought that was good to see. But from a throwing perspective, I wasn't like, wow, Caleb Williams looks like, and how he's operating within the structure of this offense, he looks like a completely different guy. It was a lot of broken plays and nothing within the structure of the offense. Lastly, after that drive, they went on to have a multitude of miscommunications with 12 penalties along the offensive line, and then multiple times throughout the games where Caleb was sending the wrong guys in motion, sending them back out wide, the whole nine. I was all over the Caleb Williams hype train when he came out. I thought he would be an amazing quarterback. But I commented that I was out on the Chicago Bears because of Ryan Poles. Caleb Williams has also now fallen into that category of bad decision making within that front office, bad habits that he has developed that I am questioning will ever go away in his pro tenure, which I think as of now is definitely on watch, because we watched the Ben Johnson experience on week 1 of the NFL season in a standalone spot where they should have had this game absolutely dead to rights, won, no problem. And Caleb Williams pissed down his leg and lost this football game for his team. He missed multiple throws, so many miscues, and he just didn't look good. So I just said a lot. One, did you read this article? And two, am I overreacting to all of this? Because I don't feel like I am at all. I think Caleb Williams is bad.
I did read the article. The one thing that I was like trying to go into it was like, okay, maybe there's a couple people that had some bad thing to say that were prior in the Bears organization, that were like trying to save face for themselves, trying to get.
It was anonymous.
I know. Hold on.
I agree with that statement, though.
But I was trying to look at it from that perspective, and now I think there's a case to be made about that if it's like 5 people, 10 people, but like when the list is that large, there's got to be some type of truth behind it. Because where there's smoke, there's usually fire, right? So if it was only a couple people, I could sit back here and say, oh, okay, well, maybe these people were trying to get back and didn't like how things ended in Chicago, and this is them kind of like making up for it, trying to make themselves feel better about that situation. But I think the list being, what did you say, like 20? I think it was like 25, 30.
I thought it was 32, but don't quote me on that. I think it was
either way, anything more than 15 people would be enough for me to say, okay, yeah, there's probably some truth to this. And with that being said, I do believe that there is some truth to it. Last year was a mess. Caleb Williams going in there and basically making them bow down to him and change everything for the way that he wanted it. And then for things to not go well offensively, that's a mess. That's a really bad look. Ben Johnson has his work cut out for him. The offense last night looked great for the first drive, and then it just looked so out of sync. It looked sloppy. There was a lot of mental errors, penalties, like you mentioned, that you wouldn't necessarily expect from a Ben Johnson run offense per se. But that's inevitably what happened. It looked sloppy. The first drive was great. The throw was great. Caleb missed a lot of throws in later in the game. Took a lot of checkdowns. But I'm not ruling him out as like this is the end for him. I think some of the things that went wrong, like he can fix. I think the penalties are something that he can fix. Like I think Ben Johnson's going to have to actually lay into him, and I think this will be a good test to see whether or not Ben Johnson is like actually cut out to be a head coach, because not everything is going to be you getting to coach an offense where you have stars all over the field. You have an amazing offensive line. Like being a head coach in the NFL is tough, and if he can figure out how to right the ship here, at least do whatever he can. I'm not putting all of the blame on him. A lot of it deserves to be on Caleb Williams, because there was time in and time out in that game last night where there were guys open and he just made bad throws, and that's not Ben Johnson's fault. Ben Johnson can only scheme the guys open so much. Caleb has to go out there and play. But I'm not going to sit here and say like he's cooked. I think that this is going to be a growing process for him. But we'll see how it goes.
So I guess a better question for you then, because I said yesterday, he just wasn't the right pick at number 1 overall. Clear as day, no matter, zero argument. When you take somebody number 1 overall, you can make up for all of the deficiencies around you. That's what's expected walking into the door as a number 1 overall pick in the NFL. As a quarterback, you're going to be able to make up for some of these deficiencies around you and elevate everybody else. He does none of that. At this point, we're pretty much sitting here saying, please, Ben Johnson, take Caleb Williams' hand and lead him to the promised land, because he cannot do this himself at all.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think there's still a growing process that needs to happen. I think there's still a developing process that needs to happen. And like, that is a coach's job too, is to develop your young guys. So I think some of that can still change, but missing some of those throws as a number 1 pick just kind of make you go, will validate what you're saying. Yeah, because there's throws that were open that we were able to see from some of the all 22 stuff where it's like, okay, that's a throw that a number 1 overall pick should make.
Caleb Williams, I'm planting my flag. He's cooked. I'm out on Caleb Williams in full. I'm out on I soft launch being out on the Chicago Bears before the season start. I'm hard launched out on the Chicago Bears. This isn't a playoff team. They're not good. This roster isn't good. The defense isn't good. The secondary isn't good. The offense isn't good. Good thing they took all of those weapons in the NFL draft. Good thing they took Luther Burden at the top of the second round for him to stand on the fucking sideline the entire time.
Colson Loveland.
The running game's bad. The offensive line is bad. And of course, Caleb Williams is bad. So that's me. That's fine. Listen, whenever you want to hop over on ship with me, I will gladly take you, because I think that I'm going to be on the right side of history being out on Caleb Williams. I just don't think he's good enough. He's clearly just doesn't take this serious, like being a professional athlete serious, which is what I would want if I was going to have somebody leading my franchise. I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion.